going to welcome Clay Nelson of C.A. Nelson Architectural Group. Clay, today we're going to talk about the rainbow of great architecture. All right. So, Clay, we've had the privilege of working with you on a lot of different projects over the years. We really enjoy building your homes. And we've seen some other projects that have been drawn by you for other folks, and we like watching them being built. You're an architect. So, there's people that are home designers and there's architects. Let's first talk about what's the difference between an architect and a designer.
I like to think that architects will someday go to heaven.
That's great.
Really, the fundamental difference is education. There's a number of ways that you can become an architect, a number of different paths, and some of those paths involve a college degree and some don't. There's 4-year degree programs, 5-year degree programs, master's programs, but ultimately, to be a licensed architect, you have to satisfy what the Texas Board of Architectural Examiners sets forth.
Right.
And once you meet those requirements, you can take an exam. The exam is, well, it's different. Like everything, it was tougher when I took it.
Right, yeah.
But it was a 4-day exam. And the last day was 12 hours. You show up at, I think you had to get there at 6, and at 7, if you didn't already have this design solution done, you were escorted out. But yeah, it was a long 12-hour design exam for the 4th day. And anyway, once you pass all that, then you can say you're an architect.
So, let's talk about how you became an architect. Was it you woke up one day in school and said, "I'm going to be an architect," or how'd you get there?
No, I was a terrible student, ultimately, and Mr. Rose, my 6th grade teacher, saw how disinterested I seemed to be in what he was trying to get in our heads, that he told me that I had good lines, and that, I was always drawing when I should have been listening.
Yep.
And that's when I learned what an architect was. I thought, well, if that means I don't have to, be a good speller, maybe this is for me.
That's good. What did you work somewhere first, or did you start your firm? What's the history of your firm?
Well, that's part of it. You have to serve an internship to be a licensed architect. So, I graduated from Texas A&M, gig 'em. We're all proud Aggies right now.
That was a good game.
Yeah, been a magical season. Once I graduated, I went up to Colorado, and I had worked a lot of construction before and during school, so it was just a way to go and live another place. Sure. I grew up in Texas. I thought, well, if I don't get out of here, I'll just never get out of here. So anyway, went to Colorado, and you start working as an intern. I will tell you that I made more money as a maintenance man in college than I did with my degree.
Right.
And that is not in the curriculum, that's not in the brochure.
Yeah.
So it's in many ways, it's a labor of love, because you're not going to get paid very much to pursue this path. And you work for a variety of places. You work through a variety of different economic events. I tell everybody, I worked for 22 different architectural firms in 2 years, because they all just kept going out of business. And I was like the harbinger of death. If I showed up, I'm sure they knew, but it was, you work for a place for two weeks or so and help them finish up, but they knew a guy, and so you'd go work for there. Anyway, once you've satisfied your postgraduate educational requirements, and there's a long list of things. You're supposed to have so many hours of design and so many hours of this kind of work and so many hours of client interaction. Then you're eligible to take an exam.
Okay.
And anyway, so I worked primarily in Denver, Colorado. They had offices in Long Island, New York, so I got exposed to that environment. Yeah, that was, for a land-loving Texan, going out on the coast was really a fun experience. Lived on a boat out there, which was fun. Then I spent 3 years in Kansas City, and then came back here to grow my kids.
All right.
Yeah.
So when did you start C.A. Nelson Group?
Oh yeah, that was the initial question.
Okay, well that's all right. No, I'm kidding. That's a great story.
I started in 1997.
Wow, that's the same year we started our building company.
How about that?
So, yeah.
We'll see who wins.
Great. Yeah, we'll see who winning is retired. Who retires first?
Exactly.
All right. So we talk about you have your licensed architect with a test, and then you have your home designers, which obviously don't take a test. Well, but on the what we've noticed architects and your plans specifically is the level of detail is significantly higher than what you would get if somebody bought a plan on the internet or got to a draftsman or something like that.
Sure.
I mean, we're talking instead of 5 pages, it could be 15, 20, or 30 pages.
Yeah. Ultimately, there's really not a limit. What our commitment is to try to communicate the story, and sometimes that requires 15 pages. Sometimes it requires 30 pages. You have some idea going in based on the parameters of the project, how many pages and what kind of time commitments that might be, but you never really know. This is an inexact science, and I tell everybody that going in. We try to look at it like an art form, so that means the project needs it. You need to provide that.
So, and that's help as a builder. I can tell you, the builders, we appreciate the detail. And I've noticed when we've had challenges or questions, we can call up, and your folks will draft us an alternative or an alternate view or a spec or detail or give us greater, give us almost like an X-ray of what we're trying to do to give us options, which is very much helpful.
I think the fundamental approach, and I can't say that all home designers wouldn't have this, but again, we're a form follows function design firm, which means that there should be a pragmatic logic to what is designed. It should be functional, and it should be buildable, ideally. And you can build anything, but it should be logically buildable.
Yes.
There should be things that occasionally stack, for example, Anyway, you try to get the walls in the right spot. From my design standpoint, the floor plan is where most of the heavy lifting is, and it has to work. There are sometimes more than one solution, but there's usually a best solution.
Right.
And that's what we're searching for. That's what we try to get to with our clients, is the best solution. The massing, the sculptural component, the beauty, what everyone sees is quite honestly the easiest part of my job, I think. That's it's kind of like playtime in a way. It's the funnest part, it's the easiest part, the most effortless part. I can't remember who said it, but I subscribe to it, and that is that we solve functional problems, and if the solution to that is not beautiful, it's the wrong solution.
Interesting. We have a saying, we call it function over frou-frou. We're just full of but it goes back to function, the functionality of the space, the functionality of the home, being able to live in it the way you want to, and then you go back and you find the frou-frou or the decorative elements that go with it.
Yeah, and you have some idea of what you're creating when you're working on a floor plan, so it's not just a complete surprise, but the beautiful aspect follows the function.
And it's funny because when you interact with the owner, they have an inverse. Often we find the inverse. They're more interested in how it's going to look, and they don't.
Absolutely.
And that's what they see until they live in it and they understand the function of it. So you have to fight that battle.
And it's how do you squeeze 10 gallons in a 5-gallon pail too? Right. They have a long list of functional components that they want this house to provide. And they also have a square footage target, and those two numbers are never the same.
No. So your communication obviously is a big part of this with everybody, but if you're somebody thinking about building a house and you reach out, what's the decision-making process for visiting with architects? You're obviously going to talk to maybe 1 or 2 or 3. I mean, what should an owner be thinking about when they interact with you or one of the other associates?
Well, I think this should be fun. First of all, there needs to be somebody that they have confidence in, that can get them to the end of the road. And then there's the process itself is, do we have a history of doing what we say we're going to do? Mm-hmm. And that is another way to say, do we meet deadlines? Right. Are deadlines real? So if we're not meeting deadlines and all that kind of thing, it's going to be a frustrating process. So, but it should just be an enjoyable one as well. Mm-hmm. I'm blessed in the sense that I'm doing what I feel like I should be doing, and it's still fun. You know, I joke about retiring.
Yeah.
Someday.
Yeah.
But
it could happen.
But it's, you know, I'm so spoiled that I get to go to work and do something that I really like, something I'm good at, and it's rewarding. So anyway, that process should be something that they consider in all of it.
So meeting deadlines, it always helps to have a owner that's prepared, because you know sometimes people just come in with it and just sit down. I want to build a house. Versus, what are things that the owners can bring with them to the first meeting when they decide to engage you that helps expedite the process?
Well, we kind of have a process that helps extract that. First of all, I call it a program guide, but it's usually a very lengthy meeting where we try to identify room by room all the components of the house and what their vision for that house is. I try to describe it as, tell me everything you already know about the house.
Right.
And what you don't know, what we don't know, we're going to figure out collectively. But you'll really drill down in and figure out where someone has been already, you know, thinking about this extensively. Kitchens are, you know, they're one of the most complex parts of the whole house, and generally there's one of the owners has really envisioned themselves in that space already. Imagery is also very important. You know, they can say, well, we want a modern house or we want a French country house. And those words are really dangerous because that creates an image in my head that might not be the same as their head. So photographs are really necessary, quite honestly. There's websites out there, House, Pinterest are great tools for helping them create a file that's shareable. And then that helps me get inside their head. And, you know, I'm trying to be them. Right. I'm trying to solve their problem, and they're telling me kind of what direction they want to go. And imagery really helps a lot.
So, I mean, you've been in this for more than a few years, so you can recall the before Pinterest and House. All it used to come in these big binders of pictures and the little see-through deals, and you come in and flip it open, and you have to. So yeah, it's a lot easier now to communicate in pictures than it used to be.
We've literally had clients in the past rolling carts of books with sticky notes on them, and as you say, they'll have tear outs.
Yeah. And they'll tear something out, and then they'll forget why they tore it out. So they're like, I saved this for a reason. And, you know, so organization with the digital. We always, even PowerPoints, we tell them make your own PowerPoint or and just put it all there and then buy room and help.
I would be told that I cannot lose this information. Yeah, they'd almost want to keep my driver's license, so I would return it. At some point when the process was done. Yeah, it's a much more streamlined, tree-sensitive process now.
We're saving trees already. Now on the other side of that equation, though, because images are so readily available, and you can see pictures of all these great buildings, you know, stuff you've designed, other people designed, you see stuff that you see on TV, you're getting a dearth of images and data for things that don't always mesh. So how do you tell Mrs. Owner that, you know, you can't, you know, what you're drawing won't work because of the elements that they want won't always work in the house of drawing.
Right. Well, that is a challenge. And when we're looking at these pictures, the question, and this is a lot like therapy in a way, is what is it about this picture that you like? And sometimes you'll find out, you know, I just really like the front door. And once you can kind of get down in there and find out what it is that's resonating, it might be something very innocuous. I really love the way they did the brick or whatever thing captured their imagination, but it's not the whole image. It's not like, okay, that's the direction we're going now.
Sometimes it's the color, though. I love this kitchen. I don't know why. Is it the green paint? You know, the green paint or what have you. So
color is really a dangerous thing.
yes. So of course, I'd be a builder. How's your program accommodate who builders who want to engage in the design process? Does that help or hinder? That is a loaded question, but obviously, you know.
Oh, it's absolutely essential. Again, I like a synergistic approach where anyone that has a creative voice is in the process of the development of that concept, because it's just rather than having a very circuitous path, if we can have a more linear path to get from you know, this ethereal idea, collection of ideas to an actual set of drawings, I just think it works better for the owner. It's definitely to their benefit to have different perspectives, because we're going to have that program guide interview, and I'm going to come back with some conceptual drawings. I still draw.
Yes.
There'll be some concept sketches, there'll be floor plans, and they need to hear what the builder thinks of that. I always refer to the builder as the voice of reason in this process. I'm the devil, voice of reason.
So that should be a clip or on a T-shirt. Let's talk about, so the builder, backing up. So how many times, I can't count how many times we've had people bring us plans that they drew or they bought, so they bought, say, we want to build this house, we want to build it for this budget.
Sure.
One, the plans are never is quite where they need to be. But even sometimes you'll have full architectural sets, and then you talk to them about budgets, and they get all frustrated with you, the reason, I guess the voice of reason, because what we're telling them doesn't match up.
Right.
So having a build, I'm sorry, there's a long way of asking this, but having a builder interact with you during the design stages, and he points out that maybe X, Y, Z looks fantastic, but as a cost driver, is that a personal affront, or do you kind of just roll with it? Or
no, it's not a personal affront. And again, it's much easier to incorporate now, and it's less painful for everyone. You know, the whole euphemism of value engineering, if we want to minimize that, because what value engineering means is you're giving stuff up.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, I'm the devil. I want to try to present to the client as many fun and creative, innovative, cool ideas, therefore expensive. All those things have little price tags dangling from them. And one of your initial roles, other than just to provide an opinion, is to provide conceptual costs.
Right.
That balcony's cool, but that balcony's going to be $30,000. You know, it's a waterproofing issue. You sure you want that? Yes, we love it. No, we don't. Boom. We're on down the road. So.
So you do your initial interview, or they come back with their homework, they do their work, but come back and you come back with, how long from when they submit their ideas and concepts to when you get your first drawing back, your hand drawing?
Well, I mean, everything is, workload related, but generally, once I do that program guide interview, I want to be in a position to hit the design immediately because it's still fresh in my head. So I would say a week to 10 days before I have the initial iteration.
So we always call that the first draw.
Sure.
Your first draw is from the program guide, your first draw, and the hope and the desire with any project is that your first draw is pretty dang close.
Sure.
Sometimes there's a second draw or third draw.
Yeah.
But assuming the first draw hits and it's in line, how long? We'll kind of lay out the process from there to get the construction documents timeline.
So generally, I have a 4-phase process. The initial phase, I call preliminary design. That's when we have gone through the program guide and I'm throwing initial concepts. And it may be more than one concept. Again, what we want to try to resolve is a project direction. So for any given site, there's a collection of circumstances, and combine that with the owner's program, it's generally unique. That's why off-the-rack plans are always well, I say always, are rarely a great fit, because the logic that's going to generate their design is their input, and it's the sun, it's existing trees, it's topography, it's all this collision of circumstance that generates a logical solution. Sometimes I might show more than one solution because it kind of proves the cars belong over here. And I always start with garages. There's a logic for once you position where the garages are going to go, the kitchen's not going to be on the other side of the house. It's going to be relatively close. The dining room's going to have some kind of connective tissue to kitchen, and it just starts to unfold. But how we get in and out of the site, something we have to get right. If it's awkward, you're going to hate me every single day. So that's generally kind of where I start. And the idea is that if we feel good from a 30,000 foot level, we got garages over here, we have our views going the best way because the sun is going to work with our outdoor spaces. And having a backyard that has to stare into the glare of the western sun, and even the south to some extent, diminishes the enjoyment of those spaces. Right. So that's the logic that goes into setting it up. We need to feel good about it fundamentally. And the next phase would be design, schematic design. Sure. We'd look at just a greater level of minutia, for lack of a better term. We'd want to have it all resolved. Once we have traction there, then I'd bring in a CAD operator and we'd start modeling. I think it's a good policy to just look at the floor plans in CAD because they're so malleable. It's easy to add footage, take footage out. I look at footage as resources, so we have to allocate those resources where they're going to make sense. Right. CAD is a very useful tool in that regard. Once we've got that where it's pretty well congealed, then we're going to start modeling. And ultimately, we're going to generate a three-dimensional model, shareable. We can rotate it. They're great tools for us. They empower the owner in the sense that they can see it all. Sometimes that's frustrating, but generally they should know what they're about to build. And anyway, there's nothing that can hide from you in these models.
Well, on site we often use them. We'll get the BIMX and we'll bring it up and we'll find. Sometimes we'll find how to make things work, and sometimes we find conflicts or issues or alignments and stuff. They're invaluable. I mean, they literally they save us dozens of hours of work.
They take longer. The process takes a little longer, but you could never go back. You could just never go back. The final stage is just all of the notation, the detailing, the references, the in-house coordination.
So if you had to say for a typical 6,000 square foot house, what kind of macro timeline would that be?
I would say it's somewhere between 3 and 6 months.
3 and 6 months, okay.
That's my generic response. Again, depending upon if it's some classical thing with all kinds of detailing, it might take a little bit longer, but generally I would plan on 3 to 6 months.
Okay. Now, for everyone at home thinking, okay, 6 months I can start building the house, remember we have to do engineering, we have to do energy code compliance, a whole host of other items. So, but if you can get your plans done within roughly 6 months, then you can get everything else done relatively quickly.
Sure.
And I remember on several projects you've had it where you've released certain things to us early so we could do some of the engineering while we're waiting for the final notes and details to be done.
Absolutely.
And that helps.
Yeah, we'll once the walls stop moving, then it makes sense to go ahead and get engineering underway and some of those other things that you mentioned. We'll share our CAD files with engineers, interior decorators, landscape, pool guys, whatever the entourage is. And so everyone is kind of finalizing their work theoretically close to the same time.
So take one step back. Everything you talked about through that design process was focused on the functionality of the space and from starting from the garage to the kitchen. I mean, there's certain laws of design, we call them laws of design, where your kitchen's close to your garage should face a certain way, your master bedroom needs to be on the opposite side. I mean, there's certain rules that we all basically follow. And I think once owners are at peace with that, and they understand that, and once they see it drawn out, it makes it a lot easier to get them to the next level.
I think so. There's definitely an educational process with the owners, and usually when you're confronted with logic, there's a reason for this. Then that's no longer an issue. They understand it. The challenge usually is how to do it in a efficient package, and by that I mean, how do we come to terms with square footage?
Right.
Because usually you're either going to have a bigger house or you're going to have to give something up. Yeah. Nobody likes to do that.
No. And I think it's all relative. And no matter whether it's a 5,000 square foot house or a 40,000 square foot, it doesn't matter what size house it is, it doesn't matter what budget it is, there will always be trade-offs. Very few people, there's a few we probably think of, but there's very few people that have unlimited resources to do whatever.
Right.
And at some point, you have to stop and start building the house. I mean, you can't just keep designing forever.
Right.
Although I'm sure you may have had clients who have taken it as a hobby.
One comes immediately to mind.
Yeah. No names. Stop looking at me. Okay. What are some things you've seen other than that one person? What are things clients or owners have done that have, I'll call mistakes or miscues, that have made the process more complicated? What are things they should not be doing when working with an architect to get a house drawn?
Well, one of the mistakes is not having the builder involved. We've already talked about that. That is almost every time invites value engineering later on.
Right.
Because I can't tell you how many times I've heard, I just want what I want, and we're not ready to. I don't understand why, but when those numbers come back, there's some soul searching. Revisions are the biggest detriment to project deadlines,
Yeah.
because especially late hour revisions, once that model is created, essentially we're kind of building the thing virtually.
Yeah.
If we take a foot out of the middle of it, that's a very invasive process, and just requires a lot of coordination to not have other issues down the road. Whenever we've had any kind of, I will say, hiccup, there's usually a revision at its source, that we just didn't find this little scrap of wall or something that created an awkward condition.
Well, we for builders, change orders, or we call them modifications, or we call them enhancements. When we're enhancing it.
That's clever.
When we're enhancing our homes, usually by an owner request, many times those are things we've had conversations with them earlier in the process and said no, so it wasn't drawn into the plans, and now we're getting a curveball at the last minute, and we're having to actually backtrack or stop the project or bring in other trades. So something about enhancement that you do when you're at 75% through completion can be 2, 3, 4 times as expensive as it would have been if you just had it drawn into the house the first time.
Sure. Yeah. Well, and that's the same with us. If we make those adjustments in the process, as the process is developing, well, then there's really no compromise in time or budgets or anything. But when they come late in the project, there's going to be a little heartache.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the. You designed a lot of beautiful homes. I know you're working on your own personal project. That'd be a whole show in itself.
Oh gosh.
That could be a HD TV special. You're doing good though. You've been, Quail Hollow. We know you're from Quail Hollow in Westlake. You've done projects there. What other parts of the Dallas-Fort Worth area have you designed homes?
Well, the Park Cities in Dallas were our original areas of focus. We've done a few things in Plano, a few things in Frisco. But generally, I would say it's the South Lake, Westlake area and Park Cities, Dallas.
Great, good deal. And I guess you're always looking for nice people to help design more houses for.
It's amazing how many nice people we run into. Yeah,
it is. There's a lot of great folks out there, and when folks are when folks work with, I find when they work with. Man, I'm gonna mess up my mic. Well, I find out she's gonna yell at me. Sorry, smiling. Oops, sorry. We'll leave that in. That's not legal. Okay. When we find that when people are kind of work with the builder on their program, and or in this case, work with the architect on their program, not try to fight, try to reinvent the wheel. Usually the process goes much smoother.
Absolutely. I think even in the program interview, it's amazing how much faith homeowners put in their builder.
Yeah.
I'll ask questions to a client, how do you feel about a formal living room? And they'll look over their builder. Do I need a formal living room? Even realtors become part of the entourage. I don't know how they've worked their way into this thing, but that's another opinion that we all have to try to get into the mix.
Or designers, interior designers.
Absolutely. Yeah. They're usually not part of that initial interview, but I do think it's valuable for a builder to be.
Absolutely. And I would even say as you get further along, have the interior designer engaged, because there are certain elements that they want to put somewhere, and sometimes we have to accommodate that. So before construction documents, if we can accommodate it, we want to. So.
Right. We all have a vision in our head, and part of the challenge is to present that vision to the owners so they can approve it.
Right.
So they can decide, do I like this or not? But it needs to be collective. And, we're not going to have all the good ideas. Decorators enhance the project. I can't tell you that I haven't disagreed with some of the directions that things have gone, but even builders are going to have good ideas. And we always like to remember those. We write those down. We date them.
So it's got to be a really long list, right?
Sometimes.
Great. Clay, so if folks need help designing a house, or if they want to come by and just visit with you and kind of learn your program to see when they're ready to design a house, how would they find you?
Well, I have a website. Our phone number is 972-248-1905. Call us. We have time, so we'll certainly make time.
Yeah. C.A. Nelson Architectural Group. They're out of Dallas, I guess Dallas. We've built several of our homes. We love it, and I think you would enjoy it too as well. Great. Clay, thank you so much for coming out and visit.
I enjoyed it. It was fun.
It was great.
Thank you so much for watching Uniqueness Built In. Have you seen something interesting on our show that you would like us to elaborate on? Or perhaps you've seen something out in the wild that you want us to talk about on our show? Feel free to email us at the email on the screen, info@garabedianproperties.com.